Would you be the jerk for saying no thanks to planning a baby shower? We'll get into that in a bit, but first, am I the jerk for thinking my girlfriend is a social climber? My girlfriend and I have been together for about 8 months, and since then there have been multiple occasions where I've ended up feeling frustrated due to this kind of behavior. Context: we work in the same industry, so this makes a lot of my meetings and connections desirable for her. Most recently, I had an important meeting with a potential new agent. It was my second meeting and he was coming to meet at our house for a chat. Then me and the agent, planned to go out to dinner. My girlfriend came home during the meeting, said hello, and then pulled up a chair and said, "I'm so hungry. What are you both up to? Are you going for dinner?" This threw me a bit. I was a bit lost for words, and after a bit of awkwardness, the agent said we should all go for dinner. At the dinner, she spoke about herself. She exaggerated a few things to look more impressive, made it clear she was agentless, and would randomly bring up that she did great work today, etc. I will say she comes across very lovely and sweet, so of course the agent ended up being interested in her. When we were leaving, he wanted to meet up with her in New York. At dinner, she said, "I'm in New York next month," despite it not actually being confirmed, and then it became awkward as she had to admit the New York trip didn't have dates yet and wasn't 100%. When we got back home, I just said that something didn't feel right, and I didn't expect her to come home and do that. She got upset and defensive, would say things like, "I just won't talk to anyone in the future," which feels a little manipulative. I don't think OP's the jerk here. She should have read the room and understood that this was a big thing for OP. And even if she truly didn't understand that after the fact, if OP explained it to her, I feel like you'd like to see some kind of apologetic behavior, right? Her going on the "oh, I just won't talk to anyone then" tangent is pretty rough. Equivalent Roll 3321 wrote, "Not the jerk, dude. She's very, very manipulative. This was planned by her and she has zero remorse. It's all about her. She did it once and she'll do it again if given the chance." Also concerning is her ability to lie like it's no big deal. Not a trait most people would want in their partner. Also, hi, I'm Steven, and if you guys enjoy getting to decide whether or not all of these people are jerks, why not hit those like and subscribe buttons down below? That said, our next story is, am I the jerk for refusing to go to the office for violating a dress code? I, 15-year-old female, am in high school and got dress coded by my teacher during history class. The dress code at my school is usually not so enforced. It was also a pretty hot day, so I wore a pair of shorts. The rule at my school is that our fingertips have to go past the length of our pants, otherwise it's out of dress code. Well, today I got up to turn in an assignment and my teacher noticed that I was wearing shorts. He told me to hold my arms down to my shorts and then basically announced to the whole class that my pants were too short. I don't think anyone even noticed what I was wearing until he pointed it out. My fingers went past the hem of my pants by 3 centimeters. It's not like I had anything hanging out. The shorts were jean shorts that had no holes in it and were pretty modest as it went halfway down my thighs. There were at least 3 other guys in class wearing tank tops and sandals, which are also against the rules, but the teacher didn't seem to notice. He told me to go to the office and call my mom for a change of clothes. This was at the beginning of class and we have a final coming up soon. Today was supposed to be a big review lesson and I didn't want to miss it. I've also never been sent to the office before, so I was really upset. I just found it ironic that we were learning about gender biases literally yesterday, yet I was being removed from class for being a distraction to the men in the room. So I said no. I understood that I violated the dress code, but seeing as it was the first time it happened, it didn't seem fair to remove me from class during such an important lesson. It was also really objectifying to be shamed for my clothing choices. The teacher and I had a bit of an argument that went on for a couple of minutes, and it delayed the class. The teacher and some of my classmates are mad that I didn't just go to the office. Am I the jerk? The thing I've always hated about dress code rules that are like, your fingers can't go more than 2 inches below your shorts. People have varying arm length. There are some people out there that have some really long arms. You mean to tell me that shorts that went basically to mid-thigh are just too inappropriate for a high schooler? I mean, let's be real, you can't see anything besides legs, and most of the time they're going to be sitting down at a desk, so how much of a distraction can it really be? I mean, I get it, you can't have people walking around in booty shorts. But it's just stupid to dress code somebody for a perfectly acceptable wardrobe just because it doesn't meet the rules. You should feel so ashamed of yourself that you let boys see 4 inches above the knee. At least it's not Amish levels. Cover those ankles up. Rizzy24 wrote, "Not the jerk, misogyny is alive and well. File a complaint with the office, take it to the school board if you have to, find a teacher or a parent or an adult who will support you, and make it known to the school admins that the way you were treated is not okay. Because it was not okay." Our next story is, am I the jerk for wanting to take my bio kid to Disney and not including my bonus kids? I, 31, have a kid, too, with my boyfriend, 31. He has previous kids from a previous relationship, 8 and 9 years old. I'm the breadwinner due to him not being able to keep the good jobs. We lost our rental a couple of months back due to his lack of financial responsibility. I didn't know he wasn't making payments towards certain bills, therefore me paying for everything plus playing catch up became too much. During these past couple of months, we've been living with his parents, and our goal was to pay off our debt. Well, I've caught up on nearly $10,000 on debt while he's been able to only pay off $500. I do give him grace knowing he doesn't make much money. However, I know he has no other payments other than his phone and daycare. Therefore, paying a little extra towards debt should not be an issue. Anyway, this summer I really wanted to take a trip out to Disneyland. I told him about us going as a whole. He agreed. Well, as it gets closer, he's now saying we don't need to go, it's going to be too hot and too packed. The little one won't remember. The older kids aren't that into Disney anymore, which he tends to do this type of tactics when he realizes he can't financially do it. I have no issue doing 50-50, but that's where he won't meet me halfway. He'd rather no one go. So my question is, would I be the jerk if I decide to make it a trip with just my bio kid and I, and him pay his way if he can afford it? I hate this situation, but I'm a firm believer in not letting my kid lose out on experiences if others aren't willing to do that for them. This is why I work so hard, so she will never miss out on anything and have everything she wants and needs. I mean, I don't know how close OP is with the 8 and 9-year-old kids. Like, I don't even know how long they've been necessarily living together or how serious things are. It's not even like actual step-parents at this point, right? It's just your boyfriend's kids. So I can't fault OP for taking their kid on a trip to Disney and not bringing your boyfriend and their kids to what would be a much larger bill because, well, Disney. Third Try is the Charm said, "Everybody sucks here. We lost our rental a couple of months back due to his lack of financial responsibility. If you're not able to keep stable housing and have debt, you're not able to afford Disney for anyone right now. And kids are just kids. Don't treat any of them as bonus. Just kinda happened." XX wrote, "Normally I would agree on treating your kids and stepkids the same, but one, he's her boyfriend, not husband, so I'm not sure if his kids would qualify as her stepkids yet. And two, it's not her job to provide for his kids from a previous relationship. It's his and their mom's job. Agreed on everything else though. Vacations and expensive adventures like Disney are an earned bonus, not a right. If you're living under someone else's roof, in debt or have just crawled out of debt, or living with and supporting a financially irresponsible partner, then you don't need to be going to Disney regardless of your child's age. You need to figure out why you're with someone and have a kid with someone who is jobless, terrible with money, and keeps having kids they can't and won't provide for. Why are you bailing him out of his own irresponsible choices? To teach him to continue not working and blowing the money he had because you will take care of it? Why are you raising a kid in that environment? You need to pay off all of your debts, get some healthy savings, move into your own place without the boyfriend. If you are irresponsible and short-sighted enough to still go to Disney now, I hope his parents kick you guys out. What a slap in the face for the help they've provided." This next story is, am I the jerk for telling my sister she was lazy for banning playdates? I, 40-year-old male, was on the phone with my sister, 35-year-old female. I'm child-free by choice. She had 2 daughters, 12-year-old female and 4-year-old female. She was venting to me about how playdates were getting to be a pain in the butt because the 4-year-old wants in on big sister's playdates. And she can't stand the whining and crying that ensues when 4-year-old doesn't get to play with them. Obviously, big sister understandably wants time alone with her friends. My sister thinks her older daughter and her friends getting a break during little sister's nap time is enough, and she should let her play with them the rest of the time, because she feels she shouldn't have to referee. She told me she informed her eldest that playdates are banned until she and her sister can work it out, because she's sick of the fighting and she's older and shouldn't be arguing with a 4-year-old. I told her this solution is leaving her at the mercy of a 4-year-old. because a 4-year-old can't reason and is unable to see past their own wants. So 12-year-old solution is to give little sister her way or not see her friends, and that's bull, and I told her so. I said, a playdate is supposed to be an experience for your child, not a break for the parent, and called her lazy and that it's her job as the parent to teach her 4-year-old boundaries, not her 12-year-olds to work it out. She said I don't know what I'm talking about because I'm not a parent and I shouldn't judge her. Am I the jerk because I'm a clueless, child-free man? Is there something I'm missing here? I know she's overwhelmed, but I feel this is more her job than her 12-year-olds. OP's absolutely not the jerk, and I think they're providing really good advice. And I think some parents are all too willing to try to jump behind the ability of saying, well, you don't have kids, you don't understand. Or even worse, just, you don't understand what it's like to raise a kid in my house. Stabby77 wrote this. I've never liked children, and for some reason never had a problem with making myself very vocal on that point, even when I was a kid myself. When I was young, my cousin used to constantly get shunted with watching her mom's friend's daughter every time they would come visit, because the adults wanted to chat and smoke and drink without any of the kids around, and she was too young to be unsupervised. They tried to do that once when I was there, have us both watch her, and I basically told my mom in absolutely no way, shape, or form was I watching her kid and letting her follow me around all day. She was also a spoiled brat I neither liked nor got along with, which made it even worse. Luckily, my mom took one look at my face and knew I wasn't joking. I would have left her standing on the front lawn and taken off to the woods to climb a tree or just walk through the forest, and she knew it. My cousin ended up having to watch her again. I don't know if it's growing up in a small town or growing up in low-income housing that was almost exclusively single mothers with children, but it was far too common that anytime parents got together, the kids would be told to basically go play, because the entire thing was just a reason for the moms to get a break from their kids. I honestly couldn't care less when I was young. I spent my childhood pretty much in the woods looking for animals. But there was no way I was going to allow a tag-along, especially one young enough that I wouldn't be able to do anything I actually enjoy. If you want me out of your face, that's fine, but don't think that means you can use me as a free labor because you're frustrated by your own children, but would rather spend money on smokes and booze than pay for a babysitter for a couple hours. The other version of this I saw a lot growing up was older sisters and brothers being shafted with looking after their younger siblings all the time. I understand in the past when birth control was not a thing how something like that would be necessary, but it actually irritates me to no end when I see people continue to have children they don't have time to take care of because they just thrust the onus onto their older children and effectively usurp their childhoods. A lot of the girls I know in my child-free groups don't want kids because they feel like they've already had them, because they were forced to basically raise their younger siblings. It's one thing if your children volunteer, or if you offer to pay them and they agree, but it's another thing to force them. You are only going to build resentment between the two children, as well as between the older child and yourself. Not the jerk. She's being selfish because she wants to give herself personal time by taking away someone else's. If she needs time away from her kids, she can find another way to do it. You don't effectively punish your child for wanting her own age-appropriate playtime and socialization with their friends. This next story is, am I the jerk for refusing to call for pizza and telling my daughter if she wants pizza, she can call the place? My daughter is 15 and stays home by herself sometimes. We have a money fund for these days, so she can order some food if she doesn't want to make herself dinner. Really simple. My daughter has anxiety and doesn't need meds according to her doctors. She was on the lowest dose and it was way too much for her. Really, we work on confidence boosting / counselor. Yesterday, my wife and I were not home. My daughter wanted to order some pizza. The place she wanted pizza from only does phone calls for orders. She texted me and asked me to call the place and make an order. I told her no and she can call them herself, that money is on the table, or she can make herself a sandwich for dinner. I came home and my wife and daughter were ticked I didn't make the call for her. My daughter's anxiety made it difficult for her to call. My wife is upset, I don't help. I think both of them are being over the top. I explained that there was food at home. She could have ordered from somewhere else or just ate at home. They both think I'm jerks, and I told her she needs to be able to make a phone call or she is going to run into many roadblocks. I also pointed out that not everyone has online ordering. Now, I'm not going to lie, I actually do have anxiety sometimes if I have to call a place or put in an order for a place. It's definitely not my favorite, but I just try to rationalize it. This person is working there, it's their job, and in all reality, they don't really care. Like, they're just there to take your order, help you out, and get on with their day. And if you did bump into the rarest situation where somebody is giving you some kind of grief, then that place didn't deserve your business anyways. Is it really going to ruin your day? It's an important life skill to have to be able to still pick up a phone call and call someplace. Not just for pizza, but you might have a doctor's visit over the phone. You might need to schedule an important thing like a dentist visit or something. Trying to push your kid into understanding that they need to be able to make that phone call and trying to give them the confidence to do so, I don't think is going to make anybody the jerk. Kronk Lasorda wrote, "Not the jerk." No therapist worth their pay will tell someone with social anxieties to push any required interactions off to their partner or parent. This was a teachable moment and a chance to face her fears. It will only get worse if she continues to avoid it. Our next story is, am I the jerk for kicking out my wife's friend? I, 38-year-old male, am married to my wife, 37-year-old female, and we have 3 kids, 12-year-old female, 10-year-old male, and 9-year-old male. My wife has a friend group of like 6 to 8 people, but her main friend is this one woman I'll call Christy. I don't like Christy very much. She just always has some type of input on everything. If I say the fridge is empty, for example, she'll say, "There are people who have less, don't complain." She genuinely just upsets me the freak off and she needs to shut the heck up sometimes. Okay, so my daughter recently got her first phone since her birthday was a couple days ago. When the friend noticed, she started opening her big butt mouth on why it's bad parenting to let a 12-year-old have such a costly device while I was sitting on the couch, a couple inches away from her, and she's talking to me directly. I told her she can always leave if she has a problem, and she asked me who I'm talking to in my own house. So I tell her to take her and her judgments to the door and make sure not to look back. She did leave, and my wife called me a jerk for what I did instead and left the house to go to Altitude with my 9-year-old. Am I the jerk? I don't think OP's the jerk here. If somebody is in your living room, they should not be insulting you to your face over something like this. Like, it's totally fine to have your own opinions on kids having smartphones or whatever, but you're really gonna sit on somebody's couch and insult their parenting to their face like that? Unless this person is actually being like abusive or a monster or terrible, OP very much is not the jerk to show them the door. Our next story is, am I the jerk for saying no thanks to planning a baby shower for a coworker? Bambi is having a baby. I do not like Bambi. I'm not even really friendly with Bambi. I am professional if we need to discuss a work thing, but overall, she's just not my type of person. Jessica decided Bambi needs a baby shower. Mind you, 4 other employees have had babies, and Jessica never thought they needed a baby shower. Jessica texted me and another person saying we needed a time to meet to plan Bambi's baby shower, and I responded with, "I appreciate you reaching out, but I won't be able to participate in planning it. I can help view department calendars and come up with a good date, and would be happy to help with tear down and clean up the day of." Jessica is not pleased, my boss doesn't care, and a few friends think I just need to suck it up. I might be the jerk because it wouldn't hurt me to help plan, but I don't want to, so I chose to say no. Am I the jerk? OP's absolutely not the jerk. Saying no, you're not interested to helping plan a baby shower for a coworker should always be a totally acceptable thing, unless like you're their best friend in the entire world. And even then, if you didn't actually want to, it's still not your obligation. I Am Irene wrote, absolutely not the jerk. Just because someone asks you doesn't mean you have to do what they want, and your response was beautiful. You offered help that you were willing to give. Apparently, Jessica wants you to be her hands and feet for everything. It was Jessica's idea. She can accept the help you've offered and fill in the rest if she feels it's so necessary to have the party. You give only what you want to give. Everything outside of that is a no. Jessica is just upset because she couldn't steamroll you into doing everything. This next story is, am I the jerk for refusing to use the take me home outfit my father's girlfriend bought for my daughter? I'm pregnant with my second child, a girl due next month. When my older son was born, my husband and I got him a take me home outfit to leave the hospital in. Choosing it became a very special memory for us, and we decided we'd do the same with whatever future children we had. Last month, my father's girlfriend of 2 years, I'll call her Betty, presented me with a onesie for my daughter. She specifically said that she wanted me to use it as a take me home outfit. Betty had expressed the desire to buy that outfit 3 times since I'd announced my pregnancy. On all of those occasions, I explained that me and my husband wanted to pick it and buy it ourselves, and that choosing the first clothes our daughter would wear at home meant a lot to us both. When Betty gave me the onesie, she jokingly said she was saving us the effort. I sincerely thanked Betty, but told her my husband and I still wanted to pick the take me home outfit ourselves. I don't think she took it seriously, as her only reply was that we wouldn't find anything cuter. I'll be honest, I really don't like the outfit she bought, but even if I did, I wouldn't use it as the take me home. My husband and I were really looking forward to getting it ourselves, and even our son wanted to help us choose his sister's special clothes. A little under 2 weeks ago, we finally picked the outfit. It's a light yellow one that we fell in love with. My father and Betty came over for lunch on Saturday. Before they left, my son excitedly showed them the outfit. When Betty asked about the one she'd gifted me, I reminded her that we'd wanted to choose the baby's take me home ourselves. The onesie she got me will be kept with the rest of my daughter's clothes. She didn't say anything. My father called me the next day to tell me I'd made Betty very upset with my attitude. He said that she put a lot of care into the outfit she'd picked, and it was petty and inconsiderate of me to dismiss her generosity. Pretty much everyone that knows about this is on my side, but I'd be lying if I said I didn't have my doubts. I also recently found out the onesie Betty bought was very expensive, so maybe that's what's making me doubt myself. That said, I did express how much this meant to me and my husband, and I told her not to buy the outfit several times. Am I the jerk? OP's clearly not the jerk in this situation. It's not quite to the same degree, but it reminds me a lot of stories I've read about mother-in-laws or relatives that want to try to pick the name and try to push a certain name over letting the parent pick the name themselves. Admittedly, I haven't really heard of the concept of a special take me home outfit, but if it means a lot to the parents and they want to pick, that is absolutely their right, and it should be respected, especially when they make it so well known. Mother Tradition 774 wrote, "Not the jerk. Since the outfit she bought was expensive and its existence is causing drama, I would give it back to your dad's girlfriend. Maybe she can return it for a full refund or at least store credit. Don't get me wrong, you're under no obligation to return it. I just feel that a gift that's being held over your head like this isn't a gift worth keeping." This next story is, am I the jerk for making it clear that this is my kid too, and the baby blanket is staying even if it doesn't match their theme of the nursery? I am very frustrated and annoyed. Some backstory. My late mom used to make baby blankets for any new members of the family. I'm the youngest of a family of 4, and my mom has passed away. I thought that I would never get a blanket for our children since my mom is dead. My dad gave me a baby blanket he made. Apparently, he started to learn how to make them when mom was diagnosed. I can't even explain how happy I was when I saw it. It is a perfectly good blanket, even if it is a bit ugly. I want to make it clear that it functions perfectly and it isn't a hazard at all. It's just clear that it was his first time really making it, and his color choice is unique. It's pink, blue, and green striped. I personally love it and put it in the nursery for when our child is born. My wife moved it and it wasn't even in the room anymore. I asked why, and she told me she doesn't want it there. I told her it's for our kid and want to place it back on the nursery. She told me no, and this started an argument. She eventually admitted that she hates it since it doesn't match the nursery theme at all. More argument, and I told her it's my kid too, that she is awful for not allowing a blanket made by the child's grandparents since it didn't match her theme. She called me a jerk, and she left for the day. I just can't blame OP here. I think OP's definitely not the jerk. Like, I get it, she probably thinks it's absolutely hideous, but I feel like it's almost heartless to not recognize the meaning and the intent behind it, and also the fact that it's a loving gift from the child's grandparents regardless of the extra meaning. And not just that, but it also does mean a lot to OP too. And OP gets to have a say in the nursery. Why does the mom get to decide the entire nursery theme or what doesn't go in there? Own Kangaroo 6931 wrote, So far not the jerk, it's off the scale. I'm almost in tears by this story. Your father learned to do a skill from scratch to be able to keep up the memory and tradition of his late wife. So what it's not perfect? So what it doesn't match the theme? That is an incredible effort and thought with a huge amount of meaning behind it. Get that blanket back in there and give your dad a huge hug and thanks. And tell your wife that freak her theme, this blanket stays. Your wife is being completely thoughtless to not see how much this means to both you and your father. Our next story is, am I the jerk for telling my parents' friends that my dad is the reason we don't see my mom's oldest daughter? Quick background to start, my mom was married twice. She had a daughter, Neve, with her first husband. He died when Neve was 6 or 7 years old. My mom's first husband's death was already tragic and traumatic for Neve, but what was worse was he died after leaving her school in the middle of the day to get back to work. Her class had an activity hour for parents to join in, and Neve and her dad made some kind of frame for a photo of them. He was dead 5 minutes after he left the school. There was an accident. Neve treasured that photo and the frame. My mom met my dad a year later and they got married 2 years after that, so Neve would have been 8 or 9. When Neve was 14, she and my dad were arguing. I was too young to remember, but I heard this story from my grandparents. Neve and my dad would argue about my dad being Neve's stepdad, and my dad wanted her to accept him into the role of a real father figure, but Neve didn't want that. My dad would get so frustrated over it, and Neve would too. She wanted my dad to leave her alone. And then one day it became a bigger fight than normal because Neve told someone she only lived with one parent and my dad was hurt or whatever. It got crazy intense between them, and then my dad did the worst thing he could ever do. He threw the frame Neve and her dad made, the last thing she did with him before he died, into the fire. There was a photo of Neve and her dad in there too. From that moment on, Neve wanted nothing to do with us. I don't really remember Neve well. I was only like 5 when I saw her last. I remember how much she despised my dad, and knowing why, I totally get it. She never forgave mom for not divorcing dad on the spot either. Neve has not been in our lives since she was 17-ish. She moved out of state to be with her paternal aunt, and before that, for like a year, she lived with our shared grandparents. But she didn't want to be around my parents at all. I only remember seeing her one time when I was 5 and I'm almost 17 now, so yeah, don't really remember her. But knowing what went down, it doesn't surprise me and I don't blame Neve. My parents had some friends over, mostly new friends, but some old ones too, and at some point Neve came up in conversation. And my parents told her friends that Neve had become such a troubled person. And Dad brought up how she disowned everyone and had wished for him to die the last time she saw us. They were really making Neve sound terrible, so I told them the reason Neve hated us all, and the reason she wasn't around is because Dad burned up the last thing she ever made with her dad. Something she probably had a lot of mixed emotions tied up in, so it was his fault, not Neve's. My parents were furious with me for saying all that to their friends. They told me it was not my place, and I humiliated my dad. Am I the jerk? OP's definitely not the jerk. They absolutely defended Neve in a place where Neve couldn't defend themselves. It's not fair for them to try to slander Neve and make all these people believe that they're just some awful, spiteful person for no good reason. Although, to be fair, if there's a situation where both of these parents come over and say, yeah, the stepkid was just so awful and cut us all off and moved out, you really need to have like an open mind and critically think, there might be a very good reason for why they acted that way. Most people don't do that without having a pretty good reason. A Whiskey Kitten wrote, not the jerk. Your parents are though. Your dad sounds like a selfish monster, and your mom totally failed her daughter. It doesn't surprise me they'd want to rewrite history and shift the blame onto her, and I'd say it is your place. Their actions also robbed you of a relationship with your sister. Bored of B said, not the jerk, way to go OP. You stood up for what was right without thinking of the consequences, and that takes courage. Your dad did something that is despicable and unforgivable, and Neve is 100% in the right to cut him and your mom out of her life. Your mom is the bigger jerk, since she stood by silently while your dad humiliated and hurt your sister, her daughter, in the worst possible manner. As a way for you and Neve to get some closure, maybe you can try and find ways to reach out to her and let her know that she made the right decision and that you support her. But with that being said, that's all the time we have for today. Now, if you want to hear another crazy Am I the Jerk Here story, check out that video on the left. Or if you missed my latest video, check out that video on the right. That said, I'll see you all next time with some more stories.